Hi. In this video I'm going to show you how to use the Ableton project that we have included in our little pack. The Ableton project is laid out in such a way that it's got 7 tracks, or 7 groups, which are numbered 1 through 7. They contain individual tracks, either audio or MIDI tracks, which can then individually send OSC data into Unreal. So kick 1 is a MIDI track. It's got a little drum rack on there and it sends MIDI data. There's a little bunch of notes in there. Same goes for the snare. Then the bass track contains audio. There's a little breakbeat, which is also an audio track. Some samples on a MIDI track, which are being played by a little sampler here. And then another 2 layers of samples, which are both audio. There are 3 devices which you can use when you set up your Ableton project. As of now, we might add more. We've included an envelope sender, macro sender, and a MIDI sender. So the envelope sender will take the audio amplitude and turn that into floating point data, which you can then send to Unreal over a specific track address. The MIDI sends MIDI notes, and as you can see here, there's a little namespace under there, and it shows you which note will be sent through. And then there's the macro sender, and that's nothing other than a bunch of sliders which you can map to MIDI, or in this case I have it in an effect rack and have it mapped to a macro. And the macro also is mapped to an auto filter, so when I turn up this auto filter, that macro will go along with it and can send data to Unreal. It's not currently being used, but I did put them on each track just for later, because these are going to be probably come in useful further down the road if you want to put like a global control on an effect. The master also has an effects rack containing a macro sender, which can be used to control the global loudness and a low pass filter, and it controls also like a global lighting in the Unreal scene. Then to use any of these devices, all you need to do is drag it in. MIDI effects go in front of at the start of the chain, audio effects go at the end of the chain. And all you need to do with adding, when you add one of these Max for Live devices to your project, is you fill in the track address. In the case of the envelope follower, you can add in a release time, fill in the IP address, which in this case is the local IP, or this machine. You could actually send data between machines, of course, because it's OSC, so it goes over network. And then you can fill in the port, which also needs to be the same as the receiving port in Unreal Engine. Here's our scene. And if I look at the macro on my master, if I turn this down, you can see it controls a global light. And also you can see the data from the macro coming in. And it is controlling macro light switch, which is a device that looks at the track address, then checks the number of the macro coming in, and then once that track address and that macro has been verified, it uses that data to set the intensity of the lighting. And that same principle applies to all of these devices. So these little blocks here light up on incoming MIDI notes from track 5. The big sort of black blob of particles will bounce outward and morph on the kick and the snare. There's another light and sort of white ball inside of that, which is controlled by the bass. And then the little red dot will bounce around to the breakbeat, as I will now demonstrate. So the random position guy, which is the little red line bouncing around, takes in the envelope data from the breakbeat, and when it crosses a certain threshold, it sets the little particle emitter to fly off in a random direction within a given range. So that's the basics of this Ableton and Unreal project. There are various ways of getting OSC out of Ableton. We've created these devices because they're a quick and sort of lightweight way to do this. And it also just all works out of the box. So once you download this, you can just use these devices and they're good to go. Hopefully it inspires you to get creative with it, make your own stuff. And yeah, enjoy learning, enjoy using this set, and we will gradually be adding more to it as we go along. All right, take it easy.